Imagine walking into your boss's office and giving notice because your writing has become your primary revenue stream. Or your podcast is successful enough that you can quit your day job. Or maybe having your marketing on autopilot so you can spend your time on the art career you love rather than on marketing. Are you a creative person who's great at what you do, but marketing makes you freeze? You're not alone. I help passionate, purpose-driven creatives overcome fear, find their brand voice, and build a marketing strategy that works for them. Oh yeah, I also make it easy and painless. It's never too late to grow the business you've been dreaming about. Book an introductory call with me, Rob Southgate, at southgatesmallbusiness.com today. And let's take the pain out of marketing together. Welcome to Ink Blots, the show where I interview authors about their lives, writing, and the books they love. Be sure to follow the Ink Blots podcast on Substack. Not only can you listen to the latest episodes, but our Substack also has interview transcriptions and links to books and other items that we talk about on the show. If you like what we're doing, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on YouTube. It really helps us and our sponsors out. Oh, and leave comments. We really do read and respond to every one. Now, let's get on with the show. Welcome to Ink Blots. I'm your host, Rob Southgate. Today I have with me shiny new author, J.R. Blanes. When I say new, I mean, it doesn't get much newer than this. Your book just came out on the 21st of October, right?
Correct. Yeah, it just came out last week, so it's shiny brand new. So
that you don't get much newer than that.
No.
I mean, I guess you do. You get it's not out yet. That would be really new, or it's the day it released. But in your case, we're going with shiny new, the newest we've had on Ink Blots. That's for sure.
Wow.
So let's start here. I should say, JR is also a horror author. And this seems to be a theme on here because I just happen to know a lot of horror authors. Even though you see some others, we just keep getting them. And JR, you are no exception. Here we are.
I love horror over here, so that's a great thing.
Yeah, it's great. So, okay, let's start here. Why don't you tell people who you are, tell them a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into it.
Okay, I'm J.R. Blanes. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I live with my wife and my neurotic dog and our 3-legged cat. I started writing as a child, very young. Both of my parents kind of influenced me in that. My mother more on the actual writing side, as she had also wanted to be a writer at one point in her life. Had actually gone or tried to go to Northwestern for journalism. Had actually worked on a novel at one point. I remember kind of like a romance novel. So she kind of was the writing side. My father was actually kind of the horror side of it where I got from. So he was very much into like Tales of the Dark Side and the old Universal monsters. And
sure.
I mean, he had got me the Universal models when I was a kid, and we built them and painted them and everything. So, and then, you know, as I got older, we'd start watching Tales of the Crypt with each other. And so he was kind of like the horror side of things. So I got both those influences from my parents. And then I wrote until I was in high school and I started playing music. I actually started playing bass guitar in rock bands. So for a long time I was doing music and touring. And then toward my late 20s, I got back into writing and got really serious about it. And I kind of messed around with a lot of genres. Actually, I tried some sci-fi, I did a lot of literary stuff. I actually published literary stuff for a little while. But my love was always horror. So when I decided to go back, and that kind of became, when I went back, that's where I really found my voice, I feel like. So that's where I've stuck for the last few years and have had some success with it, as with some short stories that have been published and now a novel.
Yeah, now a novel. Portraits of Decay is a novel, and I'll put the links in the show notes so you can pick this up. It makes a great gift this holiday. So buy 10 of them and give them to everybody.
Perfect.
So, and we'll put your socials and everything in the show notes as well, so it makes it easy for people to follow you. I'm sure we'll say that again at the end. So, tell me about Portraits of Decay. What is the novel? What is this about?
So I can actually read it really quick. So, up-and-coming young artist Jefferson Fontenot has everything going for him. The hot New Orleans art scene has noticed him, and he's finally found his true love, Nevaeh Parker. But Fontenot's bright future hides a darkness known as Gemma Landry, the artist lover and art scene influencer. Gemma believes Jefferson's talent holds the key to her seizing control of the popular Carondelet Street Gallery. But when Gemma discovers Jefferson's infidelity, she enslaves the artist with a poison she acquired from a swamp-dwelling witch, Balan St. Pierre. Now trapped in a rotting body and plagued by hellish visions, Jefferson finds himself reduced to a zombie-like servant for his unhinged ex, while Nevaeh is forced to embrace her past, hoping to save the man she loves. As the dark curse courses through Jefferson's veins, everyone involved soon discovers, in the most brutal of fashions, the terror that awaits when you cross Gemma Landry. So this is a novel that really awesome. This is a novel that started because I wanted to write something about New Orleans. New Orleans was actually the first place that me and my wife went on vacation together when we were just still dating. And it captured my attention right away. Just the architecture, the culture, obviously the dark witchcraft and stuff that's down there, and the folklore. But right after that, about 3 months, I got a job working for a private railroad company. And so I was in New Orleans. I would ride from Chicago to New Orleans every week. So I was there 4 days a week. It became my second home for 3.5 years. So I really kind of got entrenched into that city, and I was just like, I need to write something about it. I love the city so much. I love what's there. I love the cemeteries and the ghosts. And so I was just trying to find something that kind of fit into all that. And this originally started as just a short story about a woman who goes to a witch to get a potion to enslave her boyfriend. And it didn't fit in a short story, so it kind of got blown up. And then I kind of started figuring out that it needed to be novel size. And once I kind of figured that out, that's when kind of the art gallery plot line came in, because I thought that art is very important to New Orleans. And I really wanted to explore that. So that's kind of how it all came together. It was just this me wanting to write a New Orleans story and finding a way to make one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's funny because reading the description when I first read it, I started getting a bit of a Great Expectations vibe too, which is not a bad place to be, because making horror out of that actually sounds fantastic.
Right.
So when I was reading it, I was like, oh, I get the art influencer or mentor and that weird relationship, but then to have this dark zombie attachment to it.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Very, very cool. Is this a one and done?
This is a one and done. I'm at this moment not writing series. And you'll see by the end why it's a one and done.
Okay. No spoilers.
I'm
guessing things don't go well.
Things do not go well.
Yeah.
For our characters. It was for me right now. I'm very into one and done kind of novels. I'm always looking for what's the next thing I want to do. What's the next step? How am I going to now make something even better than what I've already made before? So actually I have a second novel I've written that's with my publisher on hold. And I'm working on 2 different novels right now. So for me, it's always trying to do something different and trying to experiment. Now, I won't say that I'll never do a series. It's just not right now in my future.
Sure. Is horror the genre you're going to stick with?
Most likely. Will it branch out from there? Of course. I've already have short stories that are sci-fi horror or literary horror or weird, what they call new weird. So I think it'll branch out, but I think the mainstay will be horror at this point. It's where I'm most comfortable. It's where I'm most excited to explore. I think there's a lot that hasn't been done yet in horror. And I think we're seeing that a lot now with a lot of the new horror that is coming out from a lot of novelists that are big, are really doing some really exciting things in that genre. It's a great time to be in horror, I think. But for me, it's I just love it. I just love writing about the supernatural and fear and kind of the weirdness that is out there in the world. And how can I make that and have my characters face those kind of things. So I think facing fear is very important in life. It's something I've struggled with throughout my life. So for me, it's just where I'm comfortable with. So I don't see myself going out of it completely, but I do see myself expanding it and going into different genres outside, that are within the horror genre.
Do you find that I'm going to know the answer to this, so I don't know why I'm asking, but do you find that genres aren't just one thing typically? They blend?
Oh, of course. Yeah, all genres can blend. And I think that you're seeing a lot of it right now. You're seeing a lot of sci-fi horror out there right now that is great. You're seeing a lot of, what we call usually dark fantasy, but dark fantasy incorporates horror elements in it. So
right.
A lot of times you have that, or grim dark is mixing in fantasy and horror. And now it's getting very literary in a lot of senses. You're seeing a lot of kind of literary folks who are jumping into the genre, or at least trying to do genre, or vice versa. The horror is sort of wanting to get more literary, wanting to get, kind of out of the old pop culture way of writing, I would say, and going more towards, I really want to be a good writer in this. Not saying that they weren't before, in my opinion.
No.
I know, but I know that that's what, it's just trying to get better and better. The prose being, as polished as you possibly can get them, very stylistic. You look at like Stephen Graham Jones is doing, his voice is just incredible. It's not something I think you would have saw even maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago. He was out, but his name's really blowing up. So there's a lot of people like that, that are bringing new things to the table.
Yeah.
So I think that genres, and romance and horror is out there now. Romance. So,
well, that's what I was getting from yours too. I'm seeing there's a lot of romantic elements to this.
Yes.
Yet at the same time, come on, zombies. This is horrific. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, the big genre that I didn't know was a big genre is, and the other night we did an event in Elgin. We did Nightmare on Chicago Street.
Yeah, I was there.
Okay, and I know you and I did this, but I had so many people come up that when I mentioned we carried, the company I was with there, paranormal romance, it was like, oh my God. Like the one woman screamed and went, tell me all about it. I'm like, oh my God. Mothman in Love. She was like, okay, where do I order it right now? Because I didn't have it with me. So she took a card. She's like, I'm getting the trilogy. I'm like, okay, this is a genre that is hot. 10 years ago, would you have known that?
Probably not. I don't think so. I don't think that. I think it was more, everyone was kind of putting their own genres. If you're writing romance, you're writing romance. If you're writing horror, you're writing horror. And I don't think it's like that anymore. I think people want a taste of that. And whether it was late, I think it was probably there. It just wasn't labeled that way, or people just didn't call it that. So it wasn't noticed as much. But, now people are like, no, I want this to be known as sci-fi horror. I want this to be known as dark romance, or I want this to be, I want that to be out there. And I think that's really great for the readers out there, because it gives them a different taste. Now they can kind of, I don't usually read horror, but it's this dark romance. Let me check it out. Or vice versa. I don't usually read romance, but it's dark romance. It's got something else I like about it. Let me check it out.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads you into those other genres. For me, I think all genres have something to offer. So I think that it's great that people are getting this blend. So it gives them a little bit more choice.
Yeah, I agree. And when you think about it, like you think about the bond between horror and romance. It goes back to think about Bride of Frankenstein. That
exactly.
Is essentially a romance story. The whole premise of what they're trying to do is a romantic, yet it's horrific, right?
Mm-hmm. Think about Dracula. Dracula's a horror romance story at the heart of it.
Oh, completely. That's endured as romance. There's your cryptid, essentially, romance.
Right.
That, Anne Rice made a career off of it.
Exactly. So, so it's not like it hasn't been there. It just wasn't labeled, Yeah. And so, people I don't think wanted to be like, oh, I don't read romance, but it's like, you kind of do. It's just,
you kind of do.
It's got a little bit of a different flavor to it.
Even as a kid, seeing the original King Kong and watching him with Fay Wray, and you go, okay, this is weird, but there's romance in that.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember seeing that and being like, like there was something more than, oh, it's a monster in a closet that's going to jump out at me. I was more taken with it. And you talk about sci-fi horror. I mean, I think when I saw Alien the first time, my mind expanded tenfold, and that was it. It was like that, and then The Thing right on its heels. It's like,
yeah,
good Lord.
Two of my favorites of all time. So, and now you
Yeah.
got people like S.A. Barnes, who's, if you haven't read her, I highly recommend. She's doing some great stuff. Ghost Station, Cold Eternity, great books to check out for that kind of.
Yeah.
And she's doing a lot more supernatural kind of sci-fi. It isn't alien sci-fi. It's supernatural sci-fi, very weird and strange and really creepy.
Yeah, good. All right, let's get it. So, okay, back to your writing in that. When you're writing a book like this, did you find yourself to be, this is a question I always ask because I find it so interesting, a plotter or a pantser?
Oh, I'm always a pantser. I am terrible at plotting, mostly because for me, I like to see where the characters lead me. You know, I want to be as surprised and excited as my readers are once you get to it. Obviously, once you kind of get to the rewrite stage, you're doing some outlining and you're, doing some of that kind of stuff. But initially, I always kind of just have like a nugget of an idea of something I want to write about, and then I kind of go for it. So I just write a scene and then I try to write another scene. I try to write another scene. Like I said, this wasn't even in order. The first scene is, I think, chapter 11 or 12 in this novel was the first thing I wrote. So it was then finding that and being like, okay, what am I going to do with this? And who are my characters? And once I kind of have that and have their voices, then I kind of can figure out where it's going. But for me, it's just figuring out where I'm going. And then once I have a book in hands of a rough draft, then I can go back and kind of figure
then
it
you
all
can
out.
shape it, put the puzzle together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you find that the characters, I mean, you just said the characters surprise you. Do they talk to you? Do they like?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what somebody had asked me, because there's three, this book has three different points of view that they switch between through three different characters. And was that difficult? And I was like, I just had to get in their minds at that time. So it was like slipping on, their shoes or their clothes for a minute. And so for me, once I was in, Jefferson's point of view, or I was in Gemma's point of view, or I was in Nevaeh's point of view, I was in that let that character lead me, and they began to speak to me, and it was really interesting because sometimes they didn't know what the other characters knew. So, you're seeing it from a different point of view. You're seeing a different, the storyline from a different point of view. So I thought that was very exciting for me. Yeah,
I love that. I think that's really super cool. Do you have an art background? I mean, you chose art.
I don't actually. So I talked to a lot of friends. I love art. I have more of a music background, a writing background. So I don't really, but my brothers did art. So I talked to them, and I talked to some other friends that had art. But really the person who really helped me out was Anna Kuhn, my editor, who is an artist.
Okay.
And so once I had gotten it to Ruadan, and she'd gotten a hold of it, and she was really the one who really loved this novel because I think it was about art. And
right.
She loved the romance and the characters and everything. But she's like, okay, you got pretty close, but let's, she was the one who's like, let's tweak little things that I think artists would do, or here's my experience. So having that kind of really hands-on experience with an editor was fantastic. I mean, I highly recommend all writers have editors, because it's having another eye on your stuff, and it has somebody that they're behind you. They want this book to do well, and to listen to them and have them bring in new ideas to your work was incredible. And her suggestions, and especially about the art, but a lot of other things too. I don't think this book would be the same without it.
Yeah, I love that. So kudos to her for helping out with this book. I love your cover, by the way.
That is also Anna Kuhn, so you could
Is it?
thank her for that one. Yeah, she was the one who came up with the idea, gave it to the designer. So I when she showed it to me, I was blown away. I fell in love with it.
It's so interesting because it tells me a story already. Yeah. So I'm already prepared. Before I read anything about it, I looked at it, was like, okay, we're going to have an artist, even though that looks like a blood splatter. There's going to be death. There's it was all kind of there already. It was very cool.
Yeah, I loved it the minute I saw it. So she was very happy that I loved it as much as I did, I think. But but yeah, she was amazing. I mean, I can't really actually say enough about her. Her and everyone at Ruadan have really been great about this book. So
Now, Louisiana, lots of scary, weird stuff going on there. What would you say is your favorite, like your touchstone? I'm going to Louisiana. You're going to tell me something cool to do that's going to freak me out. What is it?
Oh, you have to go to the cemetery tours. You have to go to the cemeteries. That's the main thing. I mean, because it's the most real, to me. It's there are people there. And the cemeteries are different. They can't bury people underground there. So because of the sea levels. So people basically have to be, put in there and rot away, and they push the ashes away. And it has this really creepy but kind of welcoming vibe. I don't know how to explain it better than that. Like, there is this creepiness to it, but then you're also kind of like, but that's kind of, families are buried together there, and people have, family plots there. So, or mausoleums. So there's this kind of like warmth to it as well that I find. So for me, I think if you've never been in New Orleans, go to a cemetery tour. Other than that, I'd say, and then do the Bayou tour. Do all the tours, the haunted tours. I usually don't suggest tourism as much as I would, but New Orleans, your first time there, you kind of have to do the touristy stuff to get to find it all. And they do a really good job. I mean, they talk about the witchcraft there. They talk about the voodoo. Go to the voodoo stores. There's many of them, but I would suggest going to like Voodoo Authentica, which is a little bit more authentic, or the Temple of Voodoo, which you'll get more of the kind of the religious aspect, and then go to the ones that are like in the French Quarter, that are a little bit more touristy, and are more bent to the actual things we think of as voodoo in film, the zombie kind of stuff and the dolls and all that. But I think you should get a taste of both of them, because there is a real religion. It isn't about raising people from the dead, and I try to put that in the novel too, that this is a religion for a lot of people. So I wanted that to be very serious and very known, that there is a counter argument to what we think of voodoo usually.
So things that inspire you here
in Chicago? Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. I'm actually working on a book now that it will take place here in Chicago. About the 80s punk rock scene, which is a big thing that happened in Chicago at that time, with like Big Black and just a ton of other bands like that. So it's focused around that. It kind of splits time. So it's about Chicago now and Chicago then, and kind of the differences and about nostalgia. So for me, I write a lot about Chicago. There's also a lot of great authors here. I mean, Cynthia Pelayo is an amazing author from Chicago. So there's tons of Gus Marino's another one. So, and we have a great writing scene here, which I think is amazing too. So with places like Story Studio and what's the other one? I can't think of the name of it right now, but there's a lot of places to read, a lot of places that are warm for authors. So for me, it's a great place to be an author. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I have a lot of short stories that take place here, but I also like branching out, and usually setting's very important to me. I like setting as a character. So for me, it's about finding the place that fits the story. So that's usually kind of what I do.
So 80s punk scene, you're not old enough. I am.
Yeah.
You got friends that have been filling you in on the scene?
So yeah. So I came to Chicago in the 90s, but I grew up listening to the Naked Ray Guns and the Effigies and just all those kind of bands that I just love, Big Black. And so I kind of knew about the scene. I knew about Wax Trax was still around for I think the last couple of years. I started coming up to Chicago in the early 90s when I was in high school.
Okay.
And so we would go to Wax Trax. So you had like Ministry and stuff like that in there. And Lounge Acts was still around for a little while. But yeah, I knew I kind of stayed in Wicker Park for a long time. So I got to know a lot of the people that were in that scene at that time.
Sure.
Me being also a musician, getting to know some of those musicians. So yeah, I've been talking to them and getting more information about how it was at that time compared to like what I actually know. So it can be difficult. I'm having to do a lot of research, and obviously it's a little bit easier to kind of get that information. The hardest information is like, what did Chicago look like at that time? Because it doesn't look like it does now. So what, how do I fit the scenes and make it look like it was in the 80s? So I'm having to look at like what restaurants were on these corners and
Sure,
or
trickier.
what bars or what, how do cop cars look like back in 80s Chicago compared to now? So, but I like that kind of stuff. And I research as I go. So I don't research beforehand. I research when I need to. But yeah, so I'm just trying to get as much information as possible as I write this new novel.
Well, you've got another resource if you have questions, because that was my scene. I was there, and I was in Wax Tracks, and you'd see these local punk bands that nobody knew who the hell they were, but we did. And they'd be walking around shopping, and they'd talk to them, and you'd be like, oh, that's so cool. And the Cabaret Metro going down, and I had friends in high school that went down and saw a triple bill with Flipper, Precious Wax Strippings, and Husker Du. I'm like,
oh, wow, that's excellent.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And like, it was just a great scene. And yeah, I mean, you are right though. Like when I was in the Second City thing, the training center, and that would have been like 88, 89. That whole area was CD, and now it's like, been gentrified. It's a nice little shopping thing. Joan Cusack owns a store in there, and but then it was like you had the Bijou Theater, which was a gay theater. Not that that's seedy, but there were like these sex shops right there. And that Bijou Theater, I used to park in front of there because there was always parking. And that's where Jeffrey Dahmer was hunting.
Yep.
So it's like there was this weird like as a 19-year-old kid, I felt like, yeah, I'm safe in here, but it was not necessarily safe. And then to have, there's a monster among us was a real weird.
That's kind of what I'm going for too, is it's going to be a serial killer, people searching for a serial killer, living during a summer of a serial killer in 2 different timelines. Because of like the L&L Tavern. I always love that.
Oh yeah.
Old L&L. So I really wanted something that was very Chicago in. So that's what I was trying to think of, like what's a Chicago story? Like we always have these, for some reason, we have a lot of, John Wayne Gacy, and, we have all these serial killers that came from this area. So I was like, well, then it has to be that kind of story. So, and I wanted to write a little bit more of a thriller with this one. I think it's going to lean a little bit more in thriller suspense area than it will have some horror.
It could tie into the same thing though. Yeah. All right. I got a John Wayne Gacy story for you.
Okay.
So my wife didn't grow up that far from where Gacy lived. But it's not her story. I was working with a guy. This is in the early 2000s. And I was this guy. He had like a King Tut beard. And he talked like this. And he was from that area. And one day we started talking about where we grew up. And he was like, oh, I grew up in a town over here. And I was like, oh, hey, I know where that is. And he goes, yeah, my friend Davey was eaten by a clown there.
Jesus.
And I'm like, what? And he goes, Davey was eaten by a clown. And I go, what are you talking about? Yeah, he grew up in the neighborhood with Gacy, and Davey was one of the victims. Oh, and he's like, we used to hang out on he said, when they talk about how he did little clown shows on his driveway. Yeah, we were the kids in the neighborhood that watched it. He said, we all thought he was a creep. We all thought he was, bizarro. But it was funny to us. And he said, and then Davey went missing, and like we all knew, like somebody needs to look at this guy. But they were all kids, and it's like, but eaten by a clown has never left me. I've always been like, that's so disturbing. It's not clown in a cornfield. This is a dude.
Yeah,
this is
real.
Yeah. But he would say it. He'd be like, ah ha ha, he was eaten by a clown. I'm like, it's not funny, man.
No, not at all. And I think that's what kind of scares me more. Like people are always like, are you scared of horror films? I'm like, no. What I'm really scared of is like true crime. I think that actually scares me more than anything because it's real. Monsters and stuff aren't usually, as far as we know, are not real. So that doesn't scare me as much. So I think that's where the horror is going to come from. This is I'm trying to make it a little bit more real in that sense.
Tell people where they can engage with you.
So I'm actually this Wednesday will be at I'm really bad today. My mind is Uncharted Books over on Western Avenue. So I will be there on Wednesday doing a reading, a little bit of an interview. We're gonna have some fun other stuff there. I will be in Louisiana on November 1st at the Louisiana book festival that will be in Baton Rouge. And then I'll be back in Chicago on November 19th, and I'm going to be at Bookseller, which I'll also be doing another event there. And then you can engage on me on my website, jrblanes.com. I'm also on Facebook. I'm on Blue Sky, and I'm on Instagram, so you can always grab me there and just say hi. Definitely go to the website. There's some free stories there and links to how you can buy Portraits of Decay, which is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and ruadanbooks.com. Also have the audio version coming out here soon.
Oh, exciting.
So if you're someone who doesn't like to read, but you like to listen to horror, then you can do it that way too. And that's also on Amazon as well.
And we'll put all the links in the show notes as well. Makes it nice and easy for people. Tell your friends about this. Share it with people. We want to help a brand new shiny.
Yes.
Build that audience, and you don't know who's going to be into it. I mean, I'm so into this. I love everything you said. You definitely have a fan, so we want you to share so we get more fans for it.
Please do. I would. And please come out to the events. I'd love to see you and shake your hand and have a little bit of a conversation about horror.
There you go. And follow him and buy his books. Okay, we said all the things. RJ, thank you so much for being on. Best of luck with all this. I can't wait to see what happens with your books in the future, and you are always welcome back.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. And we'll talk soon.